Welcome to Could It Exist in Real Life, where the people that remember it know too much. In about 3 days, it will have been 1 year since Sierra and Stir was on the net. I figured I should get started on the new media that inspired me so. So I figured, what better place to start than Channel Awesome and that guy with the glasses? I first caught a glimpse of Channel Awesome during the Nostalgia Critic and Angry Video Game Nerd feud. The Angry Video Game Nerd was my very first internet review show I ever watched, but I'll get to that one next time. As for Channel Awesome, it opened my eyes for the first time and was one of the few things that inspired me to do this blog. I have the utmost respect for Doug and Rob Walker, as well as Louis Lovehug and the rest of the team for all they do for media and entertainment. However, the main focus isn't on the numerous shows that are on the site. My main focus is on the anniversary specials and the videos leading up to it. Except for the 5th anniversary and onward, but I'll get to that as soon as I can. This one will be different while at the same time, as it shares the same ideas of fictionalization into fictionalization, but first the story. Since I'm going through a lot of this, there may be spoilers. It all started with a Nostalgia Critic, a reviewer that made it his life's mission to seek out any and all nostalgic movies and rip them apart figuratively and sometimes literally. His trademark appearance included a hat, suit jacket, and a tie worn over casual clothes, whilst his trademark formula is the following. 1. Watching the movie and analyzing the pros and cons. 2. Going insane over every inconsistency. And 3. Sometimes taking it out on others in the most comically violent ways imaginable. And boy, did it have dire consequences. The first anniversary started with hate comments. That's right, something bad turned into something good. As the Nostalgia Critic got popular, most Angry Video Game Nerd fans accused the critic of copycatting. So he made a series of videos to challenge the nerd in many ways imaginable. None of them worked, and the nerd bested him with hitting retaliation such as sending hitting insults, reviewing the wizard before him, and sending a challenge video of his own. Critic decided to go to Clifton, New Jersey to challenge the nerd into reviewing a horrible nostalgic movie. The nerd accepted on the condition that he plays a bad video game. The critic refused, and they fought with Captain S, the now retired hero of video game land, mediating between the two. They eventually called a truce and reviewed each other's respective mediums. Nostalgia Critic reviewing Bebe's Kids the Game, and Angry Video Game reviewing Ricky 1, a poorly done parody of Rocky. The result cost them both their sanity. Critic was to announce that the feud was far from over, and when to his surprise, the nerd hijacks his video feed to apologize. However, he stealthily insulted him in the process yet again, culminating in another fight, this time in the nerd's own home. This became an epic battle of geeky proportions as every fight scene was parodied in the process. The nerd won in the end, but that wasn't the last of the Nostalgia Critic. Now on to the first anniversary. Critic was on a rooftop singing about Chicago when he and the nerd crossed paths once again. The fight was taken all over Chicago and ended up in a Holiday Inn. Here, all of Channel Awesome joined the fray, and for the first time ever, they were in a crossover of epic proportions. We have the Nostalgia Chick, who started out reviewing female-appealing nostalgic movies before evolving into a Nostalgia Critic of her own, much to the original's protest. Linkara, a comic book reviewer and part-time superhero. Handsome Tom and 8-Bit Mickey, Screw Attack's most well-known reviewers, save for the nerd, and Stuttering Craig. The Spoony One, a former That Guy with the Glasses member who is determined to beat every Final Fantasy and has a psychotic alter ego in the form of Dr. Insano. Mars Girl, an anime reviewer. Hope Within Chaos, also known as the Epic Fail Guy, a reviewer who considers bad fictional mediums to be an epic fail. And Pa, a music critic. All of them are on the critics team. Whilst Kyle Justin, a musician and writer for the Angry Video Game Nerd theme, Benzai, a French game critic that specializes in games not available in North America, Little Miss Gamer, a game reviewer from the same company as Captain S, That Aussie Guy, another former That Guy with the Glasses member, That Chick with the Goggles, a game critic that specializes on her own personal nostalgia, Lee, a reviewer whose recurring gag is to use still photos rather than live video, Bennett the Sage, a fanfiction reviewer who specializes in scaring the living crap out of his fellow castmates, Angry Joe, a video game reviewer obsessed with guns and Chick-fil-A, and Mati, a former Captain Planet Planeteer who just wanted to belong. His ability was the power of heart, and they were all on the nerds team. The fight rages on, with even wrestler-style commentary from Transmission Awesome, as well as shoutouts to comedic and action movies. However, the fight ends with that guy with the glasses, Walker's other alter ego, who is mostly known for answering submitted questions in the most dark and disturbing fashions. He breaks up the fight and tells them to use their crossover time to get along and hate everything else. The once feuding group gets along and has done crossover reviews following the fight. The most well-known being the Critic and Nerds review Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Coming Out of Their Shells tour. The review took most of their sanity away yet again, and they continued fighting each other out of boredom. The second anniversary was different, for rather than just senseless violence for the sake of comedy, it became the first story arc of that guy with the glasses. They even gave it a title, Kickassia. The story takes place in Molossia, a micronation in Nevada owned by Kevin Bond and his family. But Critic wants the land for himself. At first, he tries to intimidate Bond into giving it to him. Bond, on the other hand, is unfazed. So the Critic rallies up the rest of the guy with the glasses crew, old and new, including Film Brain, a film critic that specializes in recent bad movies, Cinema Snob, an AZ-grade movie reviewer who specializes in pornography and old horror movies nobody heard of, Lord Cat, a former member whose specialty is trying to beat all the games he's reviewing, Andrew Oreo, who recently passed away this year. His specialty was reviewing untranslated import Japanese games, as well as Phalis, one of the few Canadian reviewers that specializes in meta, otherwise known as pointing out that he himself is in a video. Much to their reluctance, they take over Molossia. However, not all is well, for many members are sick of the critic's laziness, and Spoonie is struggling with his Dr. Insano persona. To make matters worse, Bond, in his Fritz von Bob persona, plants seeds of rebellion in the group. The third anniversary had taken a darker turn than the second, as much of it was a balance of comedy and drama. Suburban Nights starts out with Angry Joe waltzing down the road in a good mood. Why? Because he won a free car. However, he finds out that he's been deceived by the Nostalgia Critic, along with reviewers old and new, including Obscurus Lupa, who specializes in Z-grade movies, Todd in the Shadows, who reviews modern music, his trademark never showing his face, and Luke Mockery, who specializes in using split personalities to comment on the good and bad side of movies. You may know his father, Colin Mockery, a famous comedian and a regular on Whose Line Is It Anyway? For he has found a map and clues to an ancient mystical artifact known as Malachite's Hand. However, it's not that simple, for they have to participate in a LARP, live-action roleplay, in order to decipher the clues to get it. To make matters worse, they are pursued by both the obstacles defending the hand and Malachite himself, an evil technophobic wizard who created the hand. The fourth, and at the time I did this text review, final story arc, was a big one for both the cast and the fans, for it put Nostalgia Critic on temporary hiatus. It also burned out most of the members who either left or decided not to participate in any more anniversaries. The story picks up where Suburban Nights leaves off. The Critic is under house arrest for his numerous crimes under previous anniversaries. To make matters worse, the hole in the sky is getting bigger to the point where it could spell disaster for the universe as we know it. So he rallies the crew up one final time to go to space and stop it. However, there are villains who want to use the hole for their own diabolical ends, as well as a traitor of the crew. Now, this series had a lot of things that seem impossible. However, there are two things I found that may seem plausible. Could it exist in real life? The first thing is the hole in space. It is known as a plot hole, a wormhole that causes nonsensical plot devices and mistakes to occur. Take the black and white hole theory out of the phenomena, and it still exists. For every great fictional medium that's created, there's a ton of bad ones that follow. From games that have terrible glitches, to movies with bad story structure and favor of great effects. What if there's an actual phenomena that's responsible for making every bad in fiction history to create their horrible art, as sort of a way to balance out the good art in the world? Maybe people like Michael Bay or Stephenie Meyer are doing something bad in order to keep the scales from toppling. Think of how many good mediums in your life and how many bad ones come. Normally one overshadows the other, and whilst other times there's a perfect balance. For every Batman and Robin movie, there's a Blade and X-Men. For every Tron Legacy, there's a Transformers 3. For every failed attempt at the Justice League, there's a successful Avengers. All mediums, both good and bad, perceived or not, have a place in the world. They either teach us great values, or teach us what not to do. The second thing is a lot more crucial: the character. In To Boldly Flee, the nostalgia critic meets his creator, Doug Walker. Walker explains to him that it started out as him writing the character, but later said character takes on a life of their own and is telling the creator what to write. As crazy as it sounds, it makes perfect sense. Think of all the many poor received sequels as well as the comics that have been controversial. The reason being is that their creators, as well as future contributors, fail to realize that their creations have a life of their own, and that instead of listening to them, they try to take control, which in turn screws up the comic and other medium and ticks off the fan base that they are trying to appeal to. A big example would be Roy Harper, aka Arsenal. As Linkara once pointed out, what made this character unique was that he was the first member of the Titans to be a single father. However, Cry for Justice decided to take that away by killing his daughter. This was a big result of the writers taking control of the story and screwing it up for the sake of shock value. It's one thing to kill a character off when it works, but it's another if someone just does it on a whim, especially if said character had no importance to the main story. To make matters worse, they take a unique character like Roy Harper and turn him from a lovable character to a downward spiraling, unsympathetic asshole that lashes out on his friends and loved ones and becomes a villain. If that is not an example of not listening to your characters, I don't know what is. As usual, debate, argue, and let me know what I missed. Stay tuned for more.